Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to a beautiful sunny day here in the UK, and welcome to the brand new Kia XCeed. Now, would you believe that this year the Kia Ceed celebrates its 16th birthday, and in those 16 years it's evolved as a car a great deal. I guess for most of us, we became aware of the Ceed with the star in a reasonably priced car feature on Top Gear. The fact that Jeremy Clarkson always used to call it the C''D. You can probably Google the origins of the name Ceed. I don't have long enough to go into that in this video, but thankfully Kia have now dropped the apostrophe. It's just C-E-E-D. And I believe a big reason for that is just general searching online with search engines like Google. People just didn't know how to deal with the apostrophe. So it's now just the Ceed. The also thing that's evolved, not only do we have the Ceed hatch, but we also have the Pro Ceed, and we have this, the XCeed, which is a compact crossover C-segment car that's become very, very popular. In the UK, the XCeed accounts for 10% of Kia UK sales, and actually over half of Ceed sales. So it's a popular car. There is plenty to talk about. Let's start off by going through all the various range options and engine options, and then we'll delve into the detail a little bit more. There are two engine choices with the new XCeed, a 4-cylinder 1.5 litre turbocharged gasoline direct injection engine producing 158 bhp and 235 Nm of torque, which is paired to a 6-speed manual transmission. This can hit 60 miles an hour in 8.7 seconds and has a top speed of 129 miles an hour. There is also a plug-in hybrid powertrain option, combining an 8.9 kilowatt-hour lithium polymer battery pack and a 44.5 kilowatt electric motor, and a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder gasoline direct injection petrol engine, paired with a 6-speed dual clutch transmission. The PHEV produces 139 bhp with 265 Nm of torque to the front wheels. Drivers will also benefit from an all-electric range of 29.8 miles or up to 36.6 miles in the city. Recharging the battery pack using a 3.3 kilowatt wall box takes just 2 hours 15 minutes. There's a simple 4 model range, 2, 3 and then the new GT Line and GT Line S trim specs. The GT Line S replaces the previous 4 trim. The car on test today is the XCeed 1.6 GDi PHEV 3, with an on-the-road price of £32,945. The XCeed 1.5 turbocharged GDi GT Line S is available for £30,345 on the road. So I'm here today with Kia UK on the UK media press drives for the XCeed, and I was given a choice of spec and colour. First off, the colour Spirit Green just jumped at me. I think it's a pretty bold colour, not for everyone I'm sure, but it will look great on pictures. But then in terms of spec, I also wanted to not necessarily go for the top spec, the GT Line S. Although there were some of those here, I always get comments whenever I end up with a top spec car, why do you do that? Why don't you have one maybe lower down, a slightly more attainable price? So this is the plug-in hybrid variant, which is the one I was most interested in driving. Having spent a lot of time with my Hendy long-termer, the Kia Sorento, last year, I've really got a thing for PHEVs. I'm a big plug-in hybrid fan. So this is the PHEV version with the 3 trim level. Pretty nice place inside. We'll have a look in a moment. But from the outside, this compact crossover style of car is so popular in an urban environment. It's got these kind of black plastic trims around the wheel arches. It's got the matte aluminium finish roof rails, privacy glass. It's a handsome looking car. Not a massive fan of the wheels, if I'm honest, although I'm pretty sure a good chunk of that design is about aerodynamics rather than aesthetics. But I think it's a handsome looking car. The front end grille, very Kia family. You can see lots of traits from other Kias. I think it's probably a little bit better looking than the new Nero, but not quite as funky and as edgy as the Sportage. So external aesthetics, pretty good. Let's have a quick jump on the inside of the boot because, well, you know, this is important. You've got to get bikes and pups in here. Oh. Now, not that I'm complaining about the sunshine, but such bright sunshine does make filming quite difficult. But this boot's a pretty good size. One of the compromises sometimes you find with plug-in hybrids and full BEVs is the battery packs have got to go somewhere. In this, there's a little bit of battery under the boot floor. Most of the battery goes under the rear seat. So actually it's a good sized boot. You've got a 60-40 split. You've got a little area under here for all of your various charge cables. I must say they're nice because they're actually strapped down so they won't move around too much. No spare wheel, but you do have a little tyre motability kit, aka gunk. But all in all, actually a pretty good boot size. Drop the seats down, I reckon you get lots and lots of stuff in there. Let's have a look in the rear passenger compartment. Now, it's not a Sorento in here. You can have a party in the back of one of those things. It's clearly a smaller format car, so the interior cabin space is gonna be less. And I always have to say at this point, I'm 6'3", I have a 34-inch inside leg, and this seat is set for me driving. So I can get my legs under, it's relatively comfortable. I wouldn't want to be in here for too long, but I do have a good amount of headspace, and it is a fairly comfortable place in here. I've got a little USB-C charge port there for my phone. I've got a little pull-down armrest, so, you know, it's not too bad. You know, I'm at the extreme end of the fitting me in the back of a car comfortably scale, and I fit okay. The interior we'll talk more about when I jump in the front, but we've got this faux leather and cloth seating, which I think looks good. It's certainly very comfortable. But yeah, back of the car, not too bad. Extricating myself might be a bit more of a challenge. Let's jump in the front. I've got a new technique. Look, leg out that way. Genius. It's nice in here. Now, obvious things to say, it's a Kia, so there's an awful lot of familiarity in here. Having driven the new Nero recently, Sportage, Sorento, you know, there's a lot of familiarity. Sat-nav and infotainment system is going to be the same. But overall, the driving position is really nice. You've got a lot of adjustability in this steering wheel, both reach and tilt, which is great. You can kind of get the position of the steering wheel just where you like it. It's a nice feel to it. It's got a really nice leather surround. The choice of materials in here is pretty good. This isn't the top spec, but actually it's really nice. Everything you touch, all your touch points feel really nice. I know this is a small thing, but the design of the gear lever is lovely. I don't know what it is about some modern day manufacturers and the cars that they're producing, but they've kind of forgotten the tactile feel of a really nice gear change. I know it's an auto box, so it's you know, you don't change gear with it all the time, but it just feels nice. It looks nice. Lots of piano black, lots of real buttons. So I've got some buttons down the right hand side to put the car into EV or hybrid or sport. They're real buttons. All of my climate control buttons are real buttons. I've got heated steering wheel and heated seats, real buttons, and everything else is through the touch screen. So pretty good. I think the only addition I would make to this car, if I was speccing it, I'm a big pan roof kind of guy. I think that would add a lot to it in terms of light, although we've got plenty of light today because the sun's just up there and it's super, super bright. But I think the next thing we need to do is go for a drive, and I want to have a think about a couple of things. First thing, plug-in hybrid powertrain for me and my lifestyle and my driving profile is perfect because I can charge it up at home. And this car will do just under 35 miles of pure EV running, which for a lot of people might be their drive to work and back, and then you plug it in at night time. So you don't ever have to fire up the petrol engine. But I also want to experience the full-blown hybrid and see what it's like to drive. So let's go and find some nice country roads, shall we? Okay, let's start this little road test in EV mode. This is a plug-in hybrid. You can force it into EV mode. There's a little button down there that scrolls between EV and PHEV. I'm in pure EV mode. Apparently this car will do 36 miles in pure EV. And if it's anything like the Sorento I had, that is a really usable number for short journeys. The nice thing about plug-in hybrids is, because they haven't got massive battery packs, it doesn't take a huge amount of time to charge them, even if you just had a 3-pin charger at home. But on my 7 kilowatt wall box, this thing charges probably, I don't know, a couple of hours and you'd be good to go. And that means for the run to the shops, for your daily commute to school or to work, pretty much you're on EV all the time, and the long-term ownership costs are therefore really, really good. What I would say is it's not a pure BEV driving experience. It's not straight away, I can tell you now, it's not that nippy off the throttle. You know, I'm still in a built-up area, so I'm not going to be kind of going down gung-ho down the road. One of the things I am going to have to do, you have to do this in every Kia, is basically turn off lane departure warning, because it's quite an aggressive feature and it just generally annoys me, if I'm honest. But yeah, the pure EV driving, now 36 miles, I've said this in videos before, I'd maybe like it a little bit more than that, but I understand there's a compromise then between the size and weight of the battery pack required to increase the EV only range. But the first thing I like about this car, straight off the bat, is it drives like an EV. And that for me and my lifestyle is very, very useful. But I only have a short amount of time, so now I'm in a national speed limit. I'm going to change the drive mode and go into hybrid mode, fire up the internal combustion engine, and now I have 139 metric horsepower and 265 newton meters of torque. I've had lots of comments recently, so I'm now going to overlay what that is in imperial. But that should give me a sprightly driving experience. This is not going to be a quick car. It's still going to be found wanting a little bit, I think. But let's give it a go. We come out of this T-junction, we're all clear on the left. Okay, so it's not actually that bad. The engine's quite high revving, but that's a kind of characteristic you get when you often make. So this is a 1.6 litre gasoline direct injection internal combustion engine mated to the electric motor. So I've now got this combination of both things happening. It's using its internal combustion engine, backing that up on acceleration and so on with the electric motor, and then if the speed drops and I go into creeping traffic, if I just have it in hybrid mode, it will kind of use EV as and when to become as efficient as possible and those types of things. Now, I love the Sorento, but it has to be said that the Sorento was a big car. I mean, it was a 7-seat SUV, so some of you might not think it's a fair comparison to make to this, but I drove the Nero plug-in hybrid, and I like that very much. I quite like the styling of this compact crossover format XCeed, and it's a bit more Sorento-esque, if you like. It's trying really hard. It's like almost, when I grow up, I want to be an SUV. The kind of plastic wheel arches and trim, the roof rails, just make it look quite cool and quite funky. But it's never going to be a full-blown SUV. However, that's not such a bad thing, because what it does do is, size-wise, it's probably an awful lot more competent and an awful lot more the size of car you want in the UK. I mean, we're coming into a busy little village here. We've got cars parked on the near side, we've got a delivery van, we've got cars coming the other way. It's going to be tight through here, and actually, if you're in a Sorento, you might argue it's the kind of environment where you go, oh, it's a bit tight, this car's a bit big. Not in this. It feels quite small. It's compact after all. So actually, for day-to-day UK driving, it's probably a pretty good proposition, to be honest. But if I want to have some fun, there's a button down here that says Sport. So let's give that a go, shall we? Pickup straight away is a bit better. The engine's just revving out a little bit more. I guess I probably need to preface this by saying this is not a sports car. But if you're using it as a commute and you're on your way home and you have a nice little bit of B road on your way home and you want to have a bit of fun to make a bad day at work seem much, much better, then that's what the Sport button is for. Well, there we go. Bends right, then left. Let's just see what it's like through a slightly higher speed corner. The steering feel is quite nice. The gearbox is hunting a little bit. I don't think it really knows what gear it wants to be in. But the ride quality of the car is really very good. It's a very smooth, compliant ride. It's not too nervous or too jittery. It's not set up to be that way. It's not a kind of, hardcore sports car. But I gotta say, it's got a very nice, comforting ride, without going so far as to feel wallowy and unconnected with the road. It's actually got a really nice feel to it. And I guess with it being a slightly smaller car, it is slightly jacked up in that kind of crossover format, but that doesn't seem to compromise things too much at all. This is quite a nice, open, flowing road. Hey, it's pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. See, the sad thing is, no matter how sporty and nippy a car is, every now and again you're going to hit traffic. But the good thing is, I'm running as an EV. That's the best bit about hybrids and plug-in hybrids is, when you want to go gangbusters down a bit of road, you can and enjoy yourself. And then when you get into some traffic like this, the car's still running as an EV. And then if I accelerate, there you go, the engine's kicked in, so you accelerate away and it goes back to running as a hybrid. But in that creeping traffic, it's the EV characteristic, nice and quiet, good for the environment, good for your petrol consumption. It's pretty good, to be honest. Now, I'm also noticing I've got a full tank of petrol and the range is showing us about 460 miles, which I think for a car of this size is really healthy. No range anxiety there at all. Another reason why I like a PHEV, in that if you want to do a longer journey, you've got the ability to splash and dash. Although I had a great comment from my recent Mustang Mach-E video where I used the term splash and dash in reference to an electric car, and someone went, no, it's volt and bolt. And I just thought that was brilliant. So yes, you can volt and bolt in an electric car or a plug-in hybrid, or splash and dash. Pokey, So what are my final impressions of the Kia XCeed? Well, there are a few things I can't fully comment on today given my limited amount of time in the car. First one is the pure EV range, because I wanted to have a mix of driving, so I can't comment on that. My experience of the Sorento leads me to believe that it's probably there or thereabouts what Kia say, about 35 miles or so, which is good. I'd like a bit more, but I've said already, I understand why that's not the case. And I think for a lot of people that would give you a really nice kind of city car, really useful thing to do the school run. But it's certainly not enough for a longer journey, and that's where the plug-in hybrid comes in. And what I like about the plug-in hybrid element of the car is the engine, 1.6 litre gasoline direct injection engine, doesn't feel like it's straining too much. It does rev quite highly, but nothing compared with the Renault Arcana, for example, that I had earlier on in the year. Although that was a hybrid, not a plug-in hybrid, that just felt like it was straining all the time, and this really doesn't. Under normal load, like we're currently in a 40 miles an hour limit, so I can't really push on too much. I'm in sport mode, but the engine's just sat there, it's in the background, it's not kind of wailing or screaming. when you push on, 139 PS, which is, let's face it, 140 horsepower. It's not bad. It's quite a big car for that. If I think about my Mini's got 270 horsepower, so, you know, it's not a set the world on fire performance car, but that doesn't mean to say that when the road opens up and the speed limits allow, you can't push on a little bit and have a little bit more fun. I think for me, where the car really shines is the suspension feel, the steering feel is actually really nice. The car doesn't wallow and kind of roll in the corners. It's firm enough to make you feel confident in the car, but it's not so firm that the suspension's crashy and hard and not pleasant on a B road. And that's quite an interesting trick to pull off. Even the Mach-E that I'm running as my long-termer at the moment, that suspension ride is firm and I know, you know, probably too much for many of you. That's definitely not the case. And it just has a really nice flow through the bends. So I'm impressed. I'd actually quite like to spend a bit more time with the car, if I'm honest. I like the form factor. I think for me in the Kia range, if I was gonna choose, I'd probably be very tempted with Sportage. I just like the styling of that car. It's just a bit out there, and I don't know, it's maybe a little bit bigger than this car, and probably the one I would choose. But yeah, check out the XCeed. It surprised me. It's a Kia. I knew it would be good. Other things to mention, of course, like any Kia, it's got an amazing warranty. The living with experience of one of these is going to be pretty good. The price point, that mid-30s price point, is pretty good. Again, I'd probably go for the GT Line S. I've always been the kind of person that always tries to get the best spec that I can for my money. This isn't beyond basic, it's a level 3 trim spec, but I'd just like a little bit more luxurious feeling, a little bit more, you know, wanting to feel pampered. But that's just my personal opinion. Like, if you're on a budget and that's important, then actually this level 3 PHEV is perfect. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of the new Kia XCeed. But if you enjoyed that, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care. Drive safe.